I remember I heard something that you said, I don't know if it was in another podcast or an interview, that cinema is your church. And when your cup sometimes feels empty, you go back to that. But another way that you fill your cup is through the people that you work with and creating an experience on set that is beautiful for the people that you're surrounded by and that is working with you. I'd love to kind of just like dive into that a little bit more about like how you as a DP and a leader are able to remind people why they got into this industry and how you're able to create that sort of environment on set.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think it's my job, and I feel like it's my responsibility, and I feel like it yields better work, I think when it's the way I like to work is in like
Mm.
a safe creative space. So I want to create that for myself and for the team, I want to create that for the director, for the actors, for my crew, for everyone. Um, I think the way that I do it is I just start from how excited I am. I start from my passion and then I try to share that passion on set, live out loud so people
Mm.
understand that we are doing something that this matters. Like people understand, like we're not clocking in today.
Right.
We're doing what we love. And I think also by asking questions and by encouraging people to bring themselves, you start to show by example that we are all actually in this like safe creative space where all voices are actually valued. And it just takes time. It's like you started during pre-production in the meetings, the way we talk, the way we share information. Um, we just did a movie. It was really special. It was small. It was like a little family made this movie, and it was about a family. It was about brothers. It was about mental health. It was about addiction, and it was healing. The movie process was about working and healing trauma that we've all had, and I think it was really important on that movie to create like a space for people to not only like do their best work, but also like feel safe to be there as stuff gets dug up, from all
Mm.
of us while it's happening. So I remember the very first production meeting we had. I don't know where this idea came. It was just kind of an instinct. There were these Rice Krispie treats they were given out at this hotel that we did on day zero, and I just put a Rice Krispie treat in the middle of the floor, in the middle of the circular production meeting, and I put a piece of incense in there and lit it. So it's just like while we were having this meeting about like what the movie was going to be like and the schedule, and everyone's starting to like feel the logistical shit that we're going to have to deal
Right.
with.
The
Uh,
tension's rising a little bit.
there's just something right in the middle. This is a reminder of like, it's a Rice Krispie treat with an incense. It's like it's like a reminder. This is incense. This is very serious, but it's in a Rice Krispie treat. This is not serious at all. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
you're just trying to set the tone, and then and then you actually do that when you're on set,
Mm.
and I find that it takes about a week for people to start understanding like, oh, we're having fun. We're doing very focused work and we're having fun with each other. And yeah, I don't know. It's you perform it, you embody it by example.
Mm. Has this always been something that you have found to be maybe a natural instinct within you as like a growing filmmaker, as a DP, or do you find that leadership perhaps, or I guess the way that you communicate with people, the way that you present yourself had to be learned as you developed? Was there mentors that taught you this? How did you sort of develop this?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I was starting out, look, I always cared so much that I believe that I was probably just running around set caring super hard, and that was probably noticeable and maybe infectious, but I also was younger and more stressed out and, like, wasn't as, conscious of the way I was speaking, both like what I was saying and how I was saying it on set, and I just think over the years you develop it, you develop it by making mistakes. I
Mm.
remember like when I was young, like snapping at someone or like being too stressed and speaking to like yelling because I was stressed and like seeing what that does to the morale and the energy, especially from like a leader, it just like sucks it out of the
Right.
room. And I remember learning like, oh, I can't do this. Like you as a leader, like you need to perform vulnerability and make mistakes, but you can't make those mistakes. Like there will be days where I don't bring my best self. Maybe I'm tired or stressed or exhausted, but I will find myself like apologizing to the crew and I'll say like, I'm sorry, I wasn't my best self yesterday. And I remember
Mm.
asking on a certain movie, like over text at night, I am requesting something like, I'm asking for everyone's, empathy and understanding, and forgiveness for how I behaved today. And I'm sure I was fine that day. I just wasn't at the level that I was hoping to be a leader,
Right.
So
Right.
also, like, I've seen really classy actors do it, and I learned a lot from. I remember Glenn Powell is such uh, a graceful person to work with, and we'd have fucked up days on set, and you know that he knows because he's a professional and he
Yeah.
understands that shit's bad right now, but he would never lose his cool, and he would never lose his patience, and he would be there doing the inserts with his hand, it and I just remember looking at that and saying, like, "This is the level that we need to be at, like, this is the kind of grace we need to set, this is the example we need to set," so, yeah,
Mm,
I don't know, you just hone it over the years, and I will be honing it the rest of my life?
yeah. Mm. Do you find that you hold like when you go into a movie like this, I'm curious about what sort of expectations you hold for sort of your key crew in particular, maybe your gaffer, your key grip, ACs. Do you set a certain expectation that you expect them to uphold for then their team to be able to, because they're also leaders in their own right for their departments. So they're
Yep.
sort of a representation of you and how you want to lead the entire sort of overarching team, camera and G&E. How do you sort of set that expectation with your team?
Yeah, it's an incredible question. I mean, I think when you crew, you are setting this, you're making that choice when you crew. So when I'm interviewing people or when I'm maintaining relationships with people, what I'm holding on to or what I'm looking for is that energy and that attitude. Like skill, all that stuff, it comes with it. But like I will take someone whose attitude and heart is more what I'm looking for over experience and skill. Of
Mm,
course, there's a balance to be found, but like, so
yeah.
once you choose the right people, it's kind of like casting. When you choose the right actors, you don't really need to do much. They will be beautiful for you. And that's
Right.
the same thing with crews. So, I mean, I look for people that run their teams like that and speak in that manner and
Mm,
are calm under pressure and in fact laugh under pressure. And I look for the people that I can look over at them and say like, isn't this one of those moments? And we can just,
yeah.
it's like I want people who are calming me down and I can calm them down and we can cover each other's butts. And so, it's just, it's top down. I
Mm.
want that out of my directors too. I won't work with people that are yellers or don't treat people with respect. And
Oh,
so,
interesting. Do you mind
yeah,
diving into
yeah,
that a little bit? Because I think that's something that I'm figuring out as I grow in my career right now, as I'm working with directors that I've built relationships with and also gaining new relationships with directors that I've never met before and have to kind of gauge who they are as human beings as like join a project, perhaps. How have you learned to sort of gauge this type of person, and how does that sort of how do you decide if this is someone that I want to be a part of? Like, do you do multiple meetings? Like, how is this sort of process for you?
it's hard because you don't
Yeah.
know until you're on set. It's,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
You don't, like, because you don't know how people their real selves come out when they're under pressure,
Yeah.
and, I mean, you can get inklings, like, when you're first interviewing and you're talking, like, do they listen well? Do
Mm,
they speak well? You can get someone's, like, worldview as you're getting
right.
to know them, but, like, another thing I've learned is that, like, you're not gonna change people. Like, if someone is a certain way, they're gonna be and also when you partner with a director, you are entering their
World.
emotional
Yeah.
world. So
Mm,
when you commit to a movie, you're not only committing to that story and that process, whatever it is, you're also committing to being in their headspace. You're committing to a marriage for those months. And I've learned, like, man, you better be careful which headspaces you enter. So, but yeah, to
mm,
your point, we're freelance. So, the best I can do is not do it twice. And I have been through experiences where I realized at a certain point, like, oh wow, like even if I love this movie, this person either is not the type of person who I wanna make art with, or it's just the 2 of us together, it is not the right mix, and, you see what it does to a crew, like, when the DP and the director are really in sync, both, like, creatively and
yeah.
emotionally, everything flows, like,
Mm,
miracles happen on set, and other people then they all sync up, everything syncs. When the director and the DP are out of sync, whether it's, creatively or emotionally, the system falls apart. You set up a wrong shot, and then it's not right, and then it gets changed, and then all of a sudden we're moving dolly track 4 times, and you're like, "What? How did this happen?" And you're like, and the reason it happens because the leaders are not in perfect sync, and, like, the funny
mm,
thing is it happens even if you are in a great relationship, it will always happen, like, once or twice every movie, there's a day
right.
where someone's too exhausted, and either the director I feel like every director on every movie has one day where their brain just shuts off, like, they're too tired, they're too stressed, and it is our job to take care of them on that day
Mm.
because they're just not they're gone. And it's beautiful when it happens because you're like, wow, my sweet dear partner,
Right.
there's just too much and it just clicks. And, you know, it is your job to then really step up and take care of them. But on those days, that's the days where I feel like, oh, this is what it would be like if we were never in sync. And it sucks.
Mm. Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to figure out too. Like that, and just what is the sort of path for me as I grow as a DP? Because right now, a lot of what I do is the sort of commercial world. That's where I'm at. I'm starting to get more into narrative. I have a feature, I've done a bunch of shorts, and I'm just trying to figure out like how much of my growth of as a DP is based on the sort of curation of the work that I say yes to or no to, versus do I just say yes to everything and hope that the quantity of work helps me? That's sort of like something that I'm internally struggling
Yeah.
with right now. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's the eternal question, isn't it?
It
I mean,
is, yeah.
I'm also grappling with that all the time, you know? I only know how to do it the way I have done it and what works
Mm.
for me. I don't know if that's the way, but for me, it's been, you used a really good word. You said your first option was it cultivation? What is, where you
Curation.
curation. It For me, it's always been curation. Like, I've always
Mm.
just naturally acted like I had a choice, even when I didn't have a choice, and
Mm.
I mean, look, in the earliest years, I was shooting absolutely everything I possibly could and just trying to make it good, but as soon as even the inkling of the work started to feel like me and that it was rolling towards, like, this is my voice and these are the kinds of projects I wanna work on, even in, like, micro ways, I kinda started just acting with more choosiness than I had a right to have.
Mm.
And it's a balance, right? Because then you're also, can I afford to do this? Can
Yeah.
I? And it's tough too because you pass on something and it feels empowering, but then that would have led to something that was special. So I think I
There's
don't
a
think
lot
this is
of
the right
what
answer,
ifs. Yeah.
dude. It's all what if. So I think in that face of that, I you can't chase your tails. So I kind of just make the best decision I can in the moment. And if
Mm.
I will say this, anytime I've picked a project that wasn't for the right
The
reasons, like,
soul.
if I
Yeah.
yeah, it never turned out right, it was never the right one, as much as I thought, like, "Oh, it'd be cool to, like, hitch my wagon to this director because then they're doing the
Mm.
kinda work that I want other directors to know me for," and, like, but, like, if something was nagging at me, maybe it wasn't the right we weren't the right match, whatever it was, it always bites me, so at this point,
Mm.
I'm like, I just have to follow my heart and also acknowledge that there's gonna be a ton of cool movies that I don't shoot. I think that was, like, a
Right.
major switch for me is, like, I'm gonna miss out on so much, and like, I'm gonna say no to the wrong things. I'm gonna say yes to the wrong things. I'm gonna pass on something that I wish I had done. Someone else is gonna do it. They're gonna kill it. Like, it I don't know. You just have to love the one you're doing, and I have to imagine because what I've seen is that that has led me to the next thing, whether I
Yeah.
knew it or not. Like, there was no grand plan. It was just, I started doing shit that I cared about, and then people, I think, somehow have some sense that I work on shit that I care about. I also think, like, it's the way I speak when I
Mm.
interview. Like, I'm a certain kind of I'm a certain kind of person, and you either are down with this thing that the way I'm doing it or not.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in, like, a difficult way. It's just like I have a way of collaborating and working, and I am looking for people that connect and vibe with that, you know, or I'm also looking to people where I can vibe with their shade of it. But if that's not it, then screw it, you know?
Mm.
I have to imagine that's gonna lead me somewhere. But I acknowledge this is a very, very, very privileged thing to say because this acknowledges that there is work out there that is
Yeah.
around and coming in. And that is not the case for most people. It's also not the case for me in the early years. It's not the case sometimes on and off. Like, we all it's freelance, but
Of
I
course.
especially right now, it's a super privileged thing to say. So I don't know. I guess it's a long way of saying, like, there's probably a way to act as if you have the power to say
Mm.
no, even when you don't, and then you, of course, you're being careful, you're saying yes when you need to, you're doing, I'm not by no means am I recommending people pass on everything when they are at any stage of their career, especially right now when there's no work out there, but I think it's like an internal confidence that actually does
Yes.
help.
I think for me, it's also like deciphering your decision making based on, am I saying yes to this because I'm fearful that there's not going to be anything ever again type of decision versus I want to do this because fill in the blank XYZ. I feel that they're like with a lot of people that I talk to, especially that's around my sort of, I guess, level of cinematography.
Hmm.
We tend to talk a little bit about making decisions based on the fear of there not being enough of something.
Yep.
And I think that's something that I'm really curious about too. Is like, do you feel that in terms of the decisions? Do you struggle sometimes with the fear of there not being something, or is that something that you've kind of gotten over at this level? And have you felt that sort of fear initially when you were kind of starting?
I felt that fear every day forever,
Yeah.
for I don't know, 10 years. Like, I graduated in 2009, so how many years is that from now? That's,
Uh,
16 years? Is that
Sounds about right. We'll go there. Yeah.
okay, maybe is that whatever the
What
hell
are
whatever
we
number
in?
that is.
2026,
Yeah, 20
7, 8,
sure,
9.
it's like
That's
16.
17,
Wow,
16 years, 17 years, something like
that's
that.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy because I still feel like I'm a punk kid on set, but I would say for 10 years, I lived with that fear every single project, every single day, and it
Mm,
still comes back in waves, but I have worked on and I'm getting better at not holding that fear at the front and kind of faking it, just like assuming that something will come, and then I will
mm,
stress about it when nothing comes, but I've
right.
gotten better at not stressing about it until the thing happens. Like, I've gotten better at, like, passing on a movie and I'm like, "Well, there's nothing else in the early next year, but, like, something will happen," and then 1 or 2 things
Mm,
happens. Either 1, nothing comes and it's quite stressful, but, okay, fuck it, um, and it gets stressful, but it works out somehow, or 2, something else comes. So it it the thing doesn't change, it's just, like, how I hold it, I've gotten better
right.
at, you know?
Right. A lot of it seems to be just based on previous experience of you going through the thing and then sort of just like years of seeing what that outcome has been for you to be able to build that sort of mental strength and fortitude to determine if you should live within this fear or not. And I think for me, because I'm still young and not have as much experience, I don't think I have that sort of backlog of that track record yet that has told me
Yep.
it will still come. I think it really does come with time and experience.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think it is not something that that you could just have. It's the same thing about like stressing on set or like when problems come up on set. Like it over the years, we've all been in really messed up, hilariously messed up, tough situations. I'm getting to the point now where when like something goes really wrong, I'm like,
Just
it
laugh about it.
we just know that it's gonna be okay, and actually, like, because we've been there, and it's gonna suck, and it'll be stressful, but, like, we'll get through it, and I actually think at that point, as a leader, emitting and embodying the feeling that it is okay actually does make it better, like, because everyone on
Mm,
set this is kind of a segue, but, like, people are looking around, they're like, "Is everything okay?" And, like, if you're the one at the top being like, "It's okay," and, like, you
yeah,
mean it, like, you are it, that it is okay, people are like, "Oh, then it's okay," and then it's okay, like, it's you can put
right.
out fires, you can calm things down, it's like someone's worried about, "Oh, we're behind," something blew my mind, when we were doing Winning Time, the pilot, we were, like, falling behind and, actually, no, there's 2 examples of this, but I'll give one example that's better, it was me and Anna McKay, and we're prepping the show, and, our first AD is like, "Hey, we're gonna show you guys the, car you guys are shooting in. Do you wanna check, do you want the front view mirror, removed, for, like, the shot?" And me and McKay were like, "No, no, we're good." And then, uh and then we get there on the day, and we're setting up the car, and then we're like, "Ah, shit, like, the camera we need to pull the
Yeah.
front rearview mirror out." And so we tell the AD that we have to pull it out, and he looks at us with this, like, stressed look, and McKay, I'll never forget, he goes, "Man, we should have thought of that beforehand." And it just, like, diffused the
Right.
whole thing. I was like, "How brilliant." Like, "It's fine, it's fine." It's like,
Right.
"Okay, now we're 20 minutes behind, but we'll find it somewhere else." Like, that's like a small example, but, like, it's just like, I don't know, I really that little moment blew my mind. It changed the way I work, yeah.
The Creative Gap podcast is brought to you by Chiva Collective, and I'm excited to say we are officially live. Chiva is where filmmaking meets leadership, discipline, and growth. It's a digital platform built to help you strengthen your craft while also building an improved mindset, building better habits and systems you need to sustain a long-term healthy career. Inside, you'll find tools, templates, video training, community resources, and webinars that span across topics such as creative ownership, business and finances, leadership, communication, and even health, wellness, and nutrition. Enrollment is now open. So head over to chivacollective.com. That's chivacollective.com and join today. I look forward to welcoming you to this community. I'd love to also just kind of pick your brain a little bit on working with newer directors as a DP, and sort of where does your responsibility lay in terms of, do you find that you also have to be an educator in a way of kind of explaining how certain things work, like on set, how long things might take? Like I've ran into this a couple times with first time directors that maybe don't have a lot of set experience, where I find some value in being somebody that could also sort of educate and guide them into what the actual process is like. Is that something that
Mhm.
you find is an important role of being a DP in sort of that stage with working with first time director?
Yes, I really do. And I've worked
Mm,
with a lot of first-time directors, and I think, yeah, it's one of our beautiful responsibilities, one of our noble responsibilities. I think the balance becomes. I always want to make sure, and I screw this up sometimes, but I'm trying to listen really well so that I make sure I hear their entire idea and approach before I share the concerns or the thoughts I have on what that will be like logistically. You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
because when
mm.
you're hearing an idea from a director, like any director, but especially a first time director, like they don't know what they don't know. And they might be
Right.
planning something that you're like, I've looked at storyboards and I'm like, there's no way we're gonna get to half of this, but like I don't want to just cut it off and be like, hey, just so you know, we're not gonna get to this. I wanna, you wanna guide it of like, okay, like
Mm,
this is great. So why don't we sit down and let's talk to our AD and let's look at it. And like I worry we won't have time to do all this with quality. Like, so you can share, like you're saying, like there are many solutions here. It's like, do we want to make more time for this? Should we try to do a pass where we skim it back? Like, or I'll
mm.
ask, like, what are the most important beats here? Or what is the overall most important like idea here? Like, it's just trying to communicate in a way that still helps their idea like bloom, as opposed to being like, I've been there. This is not going to work, because there is beginner's mind is really powerful. And sometimes I
Right.
love
It's almost
a
like
director having an idea.
the limitless mind, yeah, I actually completely agree. And something that I find that I really enjoy doing with directors when I get brought onto a film, whether it's mostly shorts, I've done one feature, but the shorts that I've done is whenever we kind of talk about a shot list initially, or just talk about the film in general, I love to be able to just create or be in a space where we can come up with the most absurd ideas possible, the
Mhm.
most like elaborate things, and just be like, if we had $1 billion, how would we make this movie? And then from there, you just create as many ideas, just be free. And then eventually you start paring it down from there, but you only pare it down coming from the pure, creative, imaginative mind that was that
Yes.
first meeting or second meeting, whatever it is.
Could not agree more, and I think that's the way you get to if you castrate the thing or if you cut it before it even gets to be its full idea, then you're shortchanging it. I totally agree, and I think that happens every day. Like, I mean,
Mm.
you have to keep on you're trying to, like, keep that space open, and, like, I don't know, I remember, my director on this previous movie, he was like, "We're gonna jump on the train, and the actor's gonna jump on the train, and we're gonna do it for real," and I'm like in my mind, I'm like, "I know me and the AD are like, it
What is
there's
this?
just no like, yeah, I'm just thinking about, like I'm thinking about the train safety bureau, and I'm thinking about
Yeah.
the county, and I'm thinking about the stuntmen, and I'm thinking all this shit, stunt person, and but I just kinda kept quiet, and I was like, "You know what? I wanna exist in the creative space where our actor is gonna jump on this real train." Like, that's a
Mm.
cool place that's a happy place to be that this director's at. Why not join that? And, like, if it's not gonna happen, it'll not happen eventually. And you know what happened? It actually happened because, like, I think through his just saying, like, "This is what's happening," everyone was kinda like, "Oh, I guess it's happening." So they all, like,
Right. You
we we
figure it
we
out.
we pitch yeah, we pitched it to the actor, we pitched it to the city, we pitched it to the train people, and everyone sort of, like, made it work safely, and, um, ultimately it happened. So it's like, thank goodness, me or the AD wasn't like, "Look, dude, like, we love you, but, like, we're to save time, let's skip that," you know? So,
Right.
yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point, is just for like DPs in general, maybe like when you're listening to directors that sometimes have these outlandish ideas, because I know we all feel that sometimes these outlandish ideas, is to just stop and let it be for the moment. Like let that idea brew, let that idea sink in instead of just going to your immediate logistical mind of how is this going to happen? Why is this not going to happen? And I think there's really something valuable that you said about just like being quiet and just listening. And you really never know what's going to come out of that. I think that's something for me to really take away moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you're already doing it. It's the right way, I think. It's what I also want from my collaborators. Like I want my directors like letting my ideas come to their full thing. Like I want to chase the wrong idea because it'll get us to the right idea. And
Mm,
I want my gaffer also like to hear my idea and to not be the first thing tell me like why we probably can't afford
right.
that. I want them to like live in that idea and come up with a solution. We had to there was a scene we had to do with like a big fire and we couldn't afford fire and we couldn't afford all that stuff. And,
Mm,
it was my gaffer. I credit him with saying, with instead of just being like, we're getting all these no's, he came back and he was like, what if we just backlight a ton of smoke and there is no actual fire? And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that is the idea. Yeah, everyone needs to do it to each other.
mm. I'd love to kind of transition a little bit into sort of what, how do you define personal work? And I know that this is something that is really important to you in creating personal work, especially within a business industry. So, like, how do you define personal work and how do you find that within an industry in a film space that is very business forward?
Yeah, it's the question, isn't it? I think about that a lot right now, especially with how much film is in this. I don't want to say it's in trouble, but it's in a very funny moment right now.
Mm,
Between mega corporations owning everything and streamers and mergings and um, theaters, and so I feel like because of all that noise, it's even more important than ever that we're making personal work. It's like something like one battle after another comes out, and you're like,
right,
there it is. Like,
right.
there it is. Everything from that to Frankenstein. Like, there's so much personal work coming out, in different shades, but um, it just matters so that you cut through all the bullshit. So, I mean, the way to be personal, I don't know. It's at every single step of the way. I think it's what you choose to shoot.
Mhm.
It's where you put the camera. It's the environment you create on set that shows up on screen. It's how you light a face. It's extremely personal. It's it's what you're paying attention to. It's what you care about in that story, in that I always think, like,
Mm,
the most personal thing I can do is choose what lens goes on a face and how I light that face. And, like,
mm,
the choice of spherical versus anamorphic, of a wide lens versus a long lens, of below the eyes, of above the eye line, of from the side, a tight eye line. These are all, like, personal decisions that
right.
yield how you're relating to the performance, to
Mm,
an emotion, to a character. So, like, the way you love something is in every single choice. Every single choice is what makes it
mm.
personal.
Do you feel like at the level that you're at, you have to fight for your taste in what you're shooting, in the way that you compose and the way that you light? Like, because I know that at, shooting at Netflix level, maybe A24, Neon, there's a ton of people that have a say in what's going on in this film. Where I'm shooting, maybe it's a producer, maybe it's very small. So the way that I depict it maybe is like I feel like I can have a bit of a stronger taste. Do you feel like you have to fight a bit more about how you want to deliver your cinematography?
I try to create scenarios where we're so aligned before we
Mm,
begin that I don't have to fight. A lot of the prep work is sharing the information. It's creating
full
really involved pitch
transparency.
decks, full transparency, especially when we're taking risks, like
Mm,
sharing the risks and getting people excited about them as like, oh, we're doing something special together. It's everything from like when we do weird shit in post, like having big meetings with the post team winning time. We'd have these big
Yeah.
meetings with the post pipeline to describe like you're going to be getting all these weird film formats. We don't
Right.
want you to
All
dust
the
bust the
different
negative.
formats
Like,
in the world.
yeah, and like we want it to be interlaced, and they're like, well, it can't be interlaced because it has to all be in the same timeline. Okay, well, it can't be interlaced, but we can blur the fields so that it looks interlaced. So then that's a yes. It's
Mm.
not a no. It's a yes. It's like it's like, okay, cool. I hear all your no's and your concerns, and like it's also about not like bullying it through like I'm the artist. It's like, okay, cool. You have legitimate concerns. You as a company need to like be able to process this footage and keep it organized. So I mean, another example is we just did a movie where we never called cut, we never called action, we never uh we would shoot for like 45 minutes without cutting. Our actors were allowed to go anywhere. We were making
Wow.
up new scenes as we went. Like we'd start shooting scene 12, but like halfway through the actors would just be creating a brand new scene that had no and it's like, how do you get that footage to post? And we had these long conversations about like this is the process that is happening on this film. It's what's necessary for this film. But we also acknowledge like we also need you to be able to organize this. So we worked out solutions of like front slating, end slating, labeling systems, like, but you're getting the first week they were like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Right.
And then we talked and like, well, here's why we're doing it and here's what it's yielding and here's why we can't not do it. So how do we
Mm.
help? It's everything from that to like making pitch decks that go to the producers and go to the financier and go to the production company and
So
so
that
they
was going to
see the
be
references.
my next question is like, that full transparency. Obviously, it's with the director, but who else do you find that you want to be fully transparent with to be able to like
Everyone.
everybody? Mm.
Everybody. I think, uh, everybody. Ev Costume designers, production designers, um, props department, um, lighting, grip, camera, makeup department, producers, line producers. I think it's really cool to get your line producers or the people who are involved in the logistics and the money
Right.
understanding the creative because then when you hit them with like, we need this extra lens or we need this extra light or I need this extra person or whatever it is, you can be like, well, we're trying to do that thing and they can get it and they'll figure out solutions for you're trying to make it a family, a team. I,
Yes.
I share it with
Mm.
everyone and I've learned that like you can try to hide things, but it'll come back because it'll like I said, like if you don't tell your line producer you're trying to do let's say we want to mix anamorphic and spherical. If you tell them, here's like a book of here images of what we're trying to do, like certain scenes are going to be this, certain scenes are going to be this. If you don't tell them, then they're just going to be like, why does this list have 16 lenses on it? Do you know what I mean? Like, can you cut
Yeah.
some? It's like
Mm.
so
And then
you're
you have to backtrack from there.
yeah, I'm trying to make friends, man. There's an expression, if you don't trust someone, you make them untrustworthy. I think that's really interesting.
Uh,
It's like if you treat someone like they can't be trusted, you put them in a situation where they're not trustworthy. And so, counter to that, if you treat someone like a friend and like one of your close confidants, they will become that. Look, some people you can't get through, but that's them. Um, so, okay, given that, if you created that scenario, no, I find that I don't have to fight for most of the work. I also just don't ask for permission. I once we've
mm.
all agreed that this is the idea, at first it's permission, but once it's agreed upon, then you've hired me to do
Deliver.
this for you,
Yeah.
to deliver. And I mean, I remember saying to a director kind of recently, like, let me do what I know how to do for you. Like, I
Mm.
promise you. Like, I promise you, I hear everything you say. I remember everything. So trust me when I'm out there.
And if you don't mind me asking, what scenario was it where you kind of had to say that? Were they questioning something that you were doing? Were they fearful? Were they nervous? What made you say that?
It was during prep actually, and, when we were it was this movie that we did recently that was done in a very experimental way, and we were starting to talk about that way we were gonna do it, where,
Mhm.
like, I'm building a tiny little camera, there's no lighting, there's very little crew, we're just, like, in the thing, and I knew what that was gonna be like, and it was his first feature, and I knew at that moment, like, "Wow, I know how to do this. This is in my bones." And I wanted to say to my closest collaborator at that moment, like, before we jump in, let me just say it, I have got you
Mm.
and let me run, like, let me go. I think I've also, like, I think I knew how close we were to greatness, and I knew that if we were in a scenario where I could be left to my instincts, I would deliver all of this person's dreams in collaboration with them. I just felt it, and so I felt it like it was worth saying, and I mean, I know what it has been like when a director of more experience than me has given me that permission. Like, I
Mm.
know what happens when I'm trusted. I can do my absolute best work. So I was kind of just sharing with someone who we were already so close, but I was just making sure that it was understood, like, I really know what you want here, so let
Mm.
me fly?
Wow. I love that. That's amazing. What it sounds like I I can't even imagine a scenario right now in my career that would have been like shooting for 45 minutes and like that full experimental sort of way. Was there any what let me ask this, let me rephrase that. Looking back on that experience, what do you think you took away from it that could help you, that would have helped you or did help you on an upcoming project?
Patience and trust,
Mm.
because what you learn is you're sitting there and you're like, "This isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, this should we cut? Should we cut?" They're just sitting there, they're not doing anything. "We should probably cut, we should cut." Oh, shit, it's brilliant. Like,
Mm.
just waiting, and it's something I learned in documentary, and I remember when I was young, like, doing this doc, and I was, like, running around because I was so stressed because I couldn't the actors were they're the actors, the real people were, like, walking away, and I couldn't get over to their faces, and how are they gonna edit it later? And I remember the director being like, "Just wait. They'll come back. They'll come back to camera," and so this was a little more like a doc, so I learned to just, like, wait. I mean, we do 30 minutes without cutting of stuff that won't be in the movie just for 2 minutes of
Right.
something that we never could have written, that
Mm.
held so much truth, and we were winning trust from the actors. We were showing the actors that, like, we will be here as long as it takes for you to find that truth, and, like, it is like, we truly mean safe space. It also meant, like, we would show up to a location and something would feel off, and we just wouldn't shoot it, and, like, we were
Uh.
buying and, like, in your head, you're like, "Uh, okay, well, pretty sure that that beat is needed for the thing to move," but you're kinda like at that moment, you're like, "We are sacrificing that to the altar of trust for the
Mm.
actors," of like, "You guys aren't feeling it? Fuck it, it's dead. We trust you?" Which is the second thing is it's trust. It's like trusting that the actors, uh know the essential truth of the thing so deeply that even if they're gonna
Mm.
show it to us in a way that is beyond our expectations or what we planned, trust that that's the thing. I mean, a lot of this movie, our mantra on it was witness. Like, the director said to me, and I love this, he said, "We're not making a movie. We are creating an environment for magic to occur, which we will transmute into a movie later." And I was like, "Man, that is so crazy. Like, can you just respect what's happening and, like, the truth of what's happening, and then can we just trust that later we'll be smart enough to give it
Yeah.
a structure and an order?" And that's, I mean, look, not every movie can be done like that, but I wanna take pieces of that into more
Mm.
structured films where there's more money and more stress and more pressure from above. Like, I wanna be like, trust, like, cool, let's just keep shooting. Let's let the actor, like, let it suck for as long as it needs to
Mm.
suck before it finds itself?
Mm. Wow. Th-
I also think it's a
I
schedule thing. It only worked because we had the schedule for it, so it does make me want to work on films where our schedule is relaxed so that we can provide
oh,
this
that's
kind of working.
interesting.
It
Yeah.
taught me, like, this whole thing we do of, like, moving so quickly where you have no time to, like, it's not the way, man. So,
Well,
look,
that's
this
what
takes a
that
director too, like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's something that I'm figuring out too on this short that I'm prepping right now is like how many pages are we shooting per day and how much time are we going to allot to per scene and just trying to figure out that balance of like how are we going to actually be able to sit in a scene and like dig into it a little bit or are we just going to be
Yeah.
here's the scene, get it, move on. And I just sorry, I don't know if you could hear my dog. He's going crazy right now. But I want to try to be in a world where I'm able to sit in a scene more. And I did a short a couple maybe last year where the director and I've never prepped for a short for so long. It was 6 months we prepped for a short because she was in Europe
Mhm.
and I was in America. And when we got on set, this is going back to what we said earlier. we knew each other like it was like we've known each other our whole lives. And because of that, we were able to get on set, not have to really decide certain things. We just knew what was happening. And that gave us a little extra time here and there per scene to just dive into the performance a little bit more, just a little bit more. And what we were able to get out of that just a little bit more was amazing. And I think that's just something I keep trying to search for and provide on these projects that I'm working on. And
Yeah.
I don't really like the fast shit, man. It's tough.
I know, me too, dude. And it's like, look, we can do it. And as DPs, we have to. And like, we have to work faster than they ever did in the past. And we're being asked to make movies that look and act like our favorite movies, where they had
Yes.
twice as much time and that's what it is. There's no other way now, and we're going to have to continue to do it faster and cheaper. But to your point, it's like, can you create a workflow where you're not setting yourselves up to fail? And I mean, I'm
Mm,
often the one pushing gently for like, should we cut now before we get on set? And like, it's a rare director that can do it. But I tell you, once they get on set and they feel how shitty it feels, they'll do it the next time, But you're kind of trying to softly be like, I think, we got too much tomorrow. So how do we solve that before, because, and you say it like, it's not that I'm trying to like cut stuff. It's because I want the things we do
right.
to be of quality and to have the time, like you're saying, to look at it and dig in and make changes and throw it out and try something,
Yeah.
and we rarely get that.
I feel like that's where I love to be, is that moment where you've prepped so much that you have such a strong foundation that when you arrive on set, you have a plan, but you also create room for spontaneity. And
Yeah.
at the level that I'm at, I think that spontaneity is something that is really, prominent with, not having millions and millions of dollars of pressure, but at the level of working with A24 and Neon, do you still feel that spontaneity is encouraged at that level?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, I also think like these companies, I find them to be very supportive.
Yeah.
I find that at least my experiences have been, and I haven't done like Marvel stuff. Maybe it's very different in that scenario, but like what I have found in studio films is that, or maybe it's the people I'm working with, I don't know, but like we pitch it, we get them on our side, they're into the movie we're making. They basically leave us alone while we're shooting. Sometimes our someone at the monitor who's very smart, like an EP or a producer, has a very smart note that I'm usually like, yeah, great. Like, and it could be everything
Right.
from like I've had a producer say like, give a note on on lighting on an actor, and once I get over the ego hit, they're usually
Yeah.
right. Like they're the audience there, and you're, oh, cool. Like they noticed something I didn't notice. Like that's great. So like it's everything from that to like a even more important stuff. I find that the notes come in the edit, and that is something that's out of my hands. But that's what I
Right.
find is that like
Mm.
the studio stuff starts really hitting, of which I'm like, man, I wish you had given all these notes early because would have not shot half this shit and made but. But so, the process I find to be rather free. It depends. Look, the more the director has
Right. Right.
confidence, then the more we don't get
Mm.
we can do that. If people sniff out a weak director, then things
They take
start falling apart a
advantage.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And I'd love to get your take too on the sort of balance right now between what's happening in independent film and cinema versus stream. And I'd love to know, what do you feel like we're gaining from that streamer era that we're in? And what do you think we're losing with that? Sort of like, I want to see if there's a bit of a neutral take that we could have, and sort of that give and pull type of thing.
That's cool. That's a cool question because I can be quite negative on the streamers, so
I
it's
think
cool
a
to
lot of,
challenge me to
and
like,
not that negative is
yeah.
a bad thing or just being, I would just, I think, I think it deserves a neutral take on it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, okay, starting with stuff that off the top of
But
my
you could
head,
be
I think we're
negative too. Don't
losing.
worry. You could definitely be, you
Yeah.
could dig in a little bit.
No, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to challenge. It's a cool challenge. I mean, I think one of the things I worry we're losing by leaning into the streaming format is we're also leaning into like the episodic format, and I
Mm,
find that I'm not a fan of the way writing and characters is explored episodically, which is funny because I feel like there's this idea, and I think it's true also that over long periods of time, you can develop characters further and let them move and shift in amazing ways and let stories breathe in different ways. But I find what actually happens is that I can feel every episode being structured in a way to just get you to then watch the next episode. Like
Right.
I can feel that happening, and to me, I don't feel the characters are taking us where they would naturally take us. I feel,
Mhm.
and maybe this is streaming writing. I don't know. Like, look, there are brilliant shows out there. I'm not trying to like make a overarching judgment here, but like, so I feel like we're losing a bit of patience and also just like the ability to explore one idea as a piece for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we're entering more into just like a juicy character.
Mhm.
I don't know. Um, which so it's sloppy to me. This is just my personal take.
Mhm.
I did a TV show that I'm very proud of that I feel like we actually did a good job of like building a long. We actually did like I considered it 10 movies in a season, that created one long movie. So um there are many shows that do this, but on a whole, that is my fear of what's happening. I mean, what are we gaining from streaming? I think actors are gaining an amazing playground to hone
Mm.
their craft. Um, I think stories that it would be harder to get financed for film are getting financed for streaming, which is cool. Um, so that's two benefits. I think there's more opportunities out there
Mm.
because of how much content
Mm.
is out there for people. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a taste thing a little bit. I worry that streaming is slowly shutting out the independent voices that were able to somehow exist in certain periods of our film
Mhm.
history in the 70s, in the 90s. There's been these like independent renaissances, and even our independent companies are basically becoming big studios. They're either
Right.
owned by someone bigger or they've just become a studio machine in the things
Yep.
they're making. And some of the saviors of cinema have now themselves become pretty big, but they're still making amazing movies every year. It's just like you look at the movies they're getting into Sundance and they're all like huge actors, big budgets.
Mhm.
It's so I don't know where independent actually exists now.
Mm.
My friends made an independent movie. They made a movie called Bert for $7,000, and it's a
Wow.
true independent movie. And they're self distributing it in theaters. They called Lemley's and were like, "We want to show this movie." And Lemley's was like, "Yeah, we'll program that for a week." So like that's actual independent. I don't know
Yes.
how much that exists anymore, and it's important. Like it's really important.
I have my feature that I shot. It was truly independent in a sort of new way. The director was my mentor when I first came up as a DP. He was a DP in his own right, and he was fantastic. And I learned under him. And then he eventually became a director. And he wrote this feature, and I was able to shoot it for him. But it was only created because over the last 7 years, he's built a YouTube channel based around filmmaking. He's created an audience that helped him crowdfund this
Mm,
project. And through that, he was also able to acquire relationships with different brands to be able to help provide some equipment and offset some costs there. And then when the feature was done, we were able to do a small theater tour around the country and sell out every theater because of the people that wanted to see him through his YouTube, his audience. And I think that was, I don't know if that's obviously not going to be for everyone because it takes years of development of building a YouTube and an audience of that scale. But it was an indicator that I think there's some creative ways to be able to actually make something that you really want. And going through that experience with him, I think really opened my eyes to that and the hope that there is some new opportunities that could be out there.
yeah, I love that. I mean, I think in general, we're all going to have to get more creative about and also do things cheaper because
Hmm.
people every company's wallet is shrinking and also the amounts of projects that are getting greenlit is shrinking and also they're getting sent overseas. Like everything is getting smaller and less and more risk averse. And like, so if people want to make stuff that is truly independent, we're just going to have to do it for less money and on our own. I don't know. There's the big
Hmm.
companies don't I don't know if they want it anymore,
Right.
which is so scary.
Mm. Do you feel like with the shrinking of budgets and I guess the change in sort of expectation that maybe studios are asking or the streaming era is sort of asking, especially of a DP to be able to deliver at a certain speed and quantity and scale and budget restraints. Do you still have the same tenacity and excitement for this career?
Yeah, I
Sorry, I
do.
know that's a tough question, but I'm
Yeah.
curious.
No, I think it's the question.
Mm,
I think I learned at a certain point that this industry is not gonna give me my indication that I have value. It's not gonna
mm,
it's not gonna give me the things that I'm looking for it to. Because even if it does, it's ephemeral, it's momentary, it's candy, something comes out, it's exciting, it
right.
goes away, no one's talking
It's
about it,
fleeting. Everything is fleeting. Yeah.
it's totally fleeting, so the only thing that isn't fleeting is the work
Mm,
and the actual process and the people you do it with, and
mm,
also how I just feel about it inside, so, no, I think the actual work is to keep that inspiration and fire inside of myself even while the industry is showing me all these indications that it's in trouble, you know? I
mm,
mean, look, work disappearing is another thing. That is its own reality that is quite real. But the idea of like having optimism and passion, that's my choice.
right.
Um, you know, yeah, yeah. It's a tough
Mm.
moment for that. Yeah, yeah.
Do you find that, hmm, let me rephrase this. How much how much of your joy in your life do you find in being a part of a film, the process, the shooting, the being a part of something? How much of that fills your bucket of joy versus other aspects of your life? Like, where else do you find aspects of joy that can help sort of offset that, maybe that feeling where maybe you're not working?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, every day I'm on set, I am happy. Just pure and simple. Even a stupid day on set, I feel pretty in flow and pretty happy doing what filmmaking is with the people who I'm with. I'm happy. Uh, Outside of that, which actually makes me a happier person when I'm not working,
Yes.
because I then come back to my life kind of feeling fulfilled. But it goes both directions, right? I mean, for me personally, being a father, uh, I'm a
Mm,
father to a 1 year old, which like changed my entire perspective because now like I get so much. They're actually the same thing. They're both creative projects, and like being a parent, being a DP, like I'm actually now just trying to make them like entirely the same like creative flow and process, you know? There's so much they learn from each other, you know? Community, you know, family, friends, and community, and, like, the
mm,
ritual of community really fills me up. Um, yeah, I mean, that's it. I think it's, like, putting as much effort into my life as I put into film, which I didn't used to do. I used to just everything went into film all the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
and and when I'm in a project, I am still doing that, but I'm trying to find more balance now because it makes me a better filmmaker and it makes me a
yes.
better person, a better partner,
Mm.
a better parent, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I tend to ask that question a lot of just like, where do you find most joy on this podcast? Because I think a struggle with something that I've sort of been asking myself and my peers as well is, I think putting way too, maybe way too much is the wrong point, but putting way too much identity in what
Yes.
you are as a DP. And when you put too much of your identity in that thing, yes, it feels good when you're doing that thing, you feel fulfilled. But when you're not doing that thing, you lose sight of like who you are outside of
Yep.
that. And I think the reason why I propose that question a lot is to kind of just hopefully help people understand that there is more to you and life than just that role on set, you know?
Yeah, there really is. Yes, and even when you achieve your dreams of film, because we all get into it because we have these dreams, you still won't be truly happy if
Mm,
that is the only part of your life that is at the level you want it to be at. And I think I had this moment. I've talked about this before, but when Hustlers was my first studio movie and then it
yeah.
did well, and that was like a cool moment where I kind of felt like my life's dream. I'd want to make movies since I was like 12 years old. Like I saw that movie in my hometown movie theater where I used to movie hop. You know, I saw it with my parents, and I was like profoundly hit with this thing of like, oh, you just achieved your dream now what? And it's
Right.
like, well, you just better be happy in the rest of your
Mm.
life because, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a tough place is like, what do you actually do when you when you check off that box of like, I did the thing. Like, what
Well, you
is,
have the rest of your
what's,
life. That's the
yeah,
thing is there's so many things, right? Your whole
exactly.
life is your
Right.
thing, and yeah, I'm trying to cultivate this thing with filmmaking where it's kind of the incense within the,
In the Rice
Rice
Krispie
Krispie treat.
treat.
It's like I give a shit more than anybody else. I
Mm,
really give a shit, and I totally don't give a shit, and then you're invincible, then you're free, and it's
mm.
like it can't touch. I give it everything, and it can't touch. It's both,
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I love what you're saying, like, there's also no boxes to check. It's
right.
just making cool shit. In some ways, it doesn't change. Like if it's a studio movie or if it's a short film with your friends, you're just trying to make cool shit with people that you like being around, kinda, or
Mm,
hopefully that's it.
yeah. If you don't mind, I'd love to touch on the dad thing real quick because that's something
Sure.
pretty prevalent in my life, or trying to hopefully one soon become
Hmm.
prevalent in my life. Um,
Cool.
is How has that changed your relationship with your wife in terms of how you take jobs on? And I know it's only been a year, and I know that there's been 9 months prior to that, but I'm sure there's been conversations about how you're going to communicate from now on, because it changes obviously now that you have a child.
Yeah, yeah, it's all communication. I mean, we were already doing this thing, which is that like every decision was a team decision,
Mm.
I mean, for so long it's been like, are we doing this movie? And like I joke that she's like my agent. It's like it's like, yeah, I mean, like, okay, cool. Here's we talk about like, is this movie worth doing for the family, for my soul creatively, for
Mhm.
our life, especially now that every single movie is travel. No one's.
Mhm.
I mean, we one of the movies we did recently was in L.A., which was a miracle. But like
Wow.
now, it's almost like filmmaking is almost becoming like, if you're gonna make a movie, where are you going? If you're making a movie at all, So it's like these conversations of like, yeah, it's a family decision. That's it. Every single one of them. And I won't make a move without the family having decided it's the right thing. I mean, it makes you pickier whether you want to be or
Mm.
not. It makes me now be like, what movie could possibly be more important than me holding my child right now, showing her how to make an egg in the morning? Like, and the answer is like,
Right.
that list gets very short. Which is cool because again, it gives you more fuel to feel empowered to make your decisions, even when you don't actually have that power, and even when like
Mm.
you're quite desperate that you book a movie financially, creatively, like in a bubble, you might need the work, but like the feeling of like none of this can touch me and my family, I've found to be quite powerful, in making better decisions.
Wow. Mm. Yeah, that's something my wife and I have been working on. I've been with her for 11 years now. We met when we were 15 years old. We met in high school.
Hmm.
So
Amazing.
she's seen every
Yeah.
part of where I've started to, and vice versa. And we've really always tried to make it a priority to communicate well, and because my job does take me a lot of places, and um, yeah, I'm always curious too, like speaking to DPs that I look up to, and hopefully get to be able to get to that level of like, how do they manage their relationships and their life outside of it? Because I think even at the scale that I'm at, sometimes the thing that I struggle with internally is like, I make plans with my friends, I make plans with my
Oh
family,
my
and
God.
then
Dude.
somehow there's no work. I make a plan, there's work on that day every time.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's just the way it is, but I'd love to hear just like, how do you, like, what is that process like of, I don't know.
Dude, I think
Yeah.
I mean, it's yes, that is the biggest thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly letting everyone down. Like
Right.
I
Right.
I'm just constantly having to cancel vacations, cancel plans, cancel family things. It sucks, and I don't think it changes because like I mean, I was checking there was a moment where I was so gone lately last year that I was reaching out to DPs who are way further along in their
Mhm.
careers than me and asking like, "Is this just what it is? Like, is this what it is?" And they were all like, "Yeah." They were just like, "Yeah, I'm in this hotel prepping this movie. I'm shooting the next movie. I'm color correcting remotely. I haven't seen my family, or I'm flying
Yeah.
back to see my family on the it's just it. So it's kind of what this thing is, and it sucks. But the only I don't know, I'm just trying to communicate through it. So,
Right.
like, okay, I kinda have, like, a list of, like, the priorities of communication. It's like, okay, with my wife, my partner, like, that is the most, like, we don't fuck around, like, we communicate,
Yeah.
and we make those decisions together, and, you know but, like, then it's, like, family, and then closest friends, but, like, ultimately, you're fucking disappointing everyone. I mean, for me, I'm actually learning how to just own up to it more and just be honest with
Mm.
people and be like, I honestly don't know if we can go on that trip in February because I might be in this country, I might be in this country, I might have not worked in so long that I have to just be at home waiting to work. I have
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, cool. Well, we can pick any date in the next 6 months." And I'm like, "I can't."
Yeah.
And it's like to a person that's not in the film industry, that sounds like such a cop out, but it's real for us. We're
Yeah.
freelance. We don't have a lot of control, and it's also like, "Cool, when will you know?" Uh, 2
A
weeks
week
before,
before.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
it's
uh
it's, um yeah.
I'm a part of this year's ASC mentee program, mentorship program, and I went to the clubhouse a couple months ago for their, I guess, like welcome thing they had,
Mhm.
and there was obviously a ton of ASC DPs there, and I'm not going to name who it was, but I asked him a question because I saw that he had a ring on his finger, and obviously this is a very important topic to me because I asked you, so I asked him because he had shot something recently that was huge, and I was like, how is your experience with your partner in this career? And again, I'm not going to say who it was, but he said, this is my second marriage, and this wife told me not to take this movie coming up, and I told her no, and I'm going to take it, and I also signed on to another one, so we'll see if I have a wife when I get back. And it was a very weird thing that I heard and like internalized, and I was like, okay, how do I even conceptualize what I just heard? And like, is this what it takes to be that great? If it is,
Mm.
do I want that? I don't know. And again, this doesn't have a question or anything to it, but it was just a story and something that I heard that was a different perspective than what I have heard before, and it just made me question, like, what does it actually take to be the best? And if that's what it is, do I want that in my life?
I've had the same thought. I still wonder if that's what it takes, and I look at some of the people that I look up to, and I'm like, "Yeah, is that what it takes to be the quote at that level?"
Yeah.
Maybe, but then I'm like, "Well, can I breathe and slow down and actually just accept that, like, I am just gonna be myself, and my
Mhm.
life is my life, and, like, they might be the best, but coming home to an
Right.
whatever their life is, I don't know, yeah, I don't know the answer. It's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
There
know.
was real no, it was like, it was just an understanding of like, okay, where are people's priorities in their life, and where do
Yeah,
people hold that priority list? And some people, it may be work as the only thing. And some other people, like, Natalie Kingston was there at the thing, and she couldn't really stay because she had to go home to her baby. And I was like, okay, I didn't really get to talk to her, but her child is a priority for her. And it was just interesting to see the certain dynamics and balances, with people that you've seen their movies, and then you see them in person, like, wow, this is crazy to be in this environment, you
yeah,
know?
I don't think there is one way. I also have seen so many successful families,
Yes.
like, dude, I just did a movie with Rachel Morrison, who's like, she
Amazing.
watching her like family, she brought her family, and then even when when her family left the movie, she was still so like family minded, and like
Mm,
her and we wanted 10-hour days, we made it 10-hour days, and we believe in 10-hour days because we believe in getting our teams home for dinner time, and
yeah.
like so I've seen healthy marriages, healthy relationships, healthy families. I honestly think it comes down to the person's priorities, like you're saying. And it's not that it's easy because it's way hard. And I mean, Rachel was cracking up on this movie because she was seeing me. I had like a 6-month-old at the time, and she was seeing me like, cool, I'm leaving this meeting now because, or I'm leaving this bar right now because the baby wakes up at 5 in the morning, like whatever it is, like, and she was cracking up because she remembers her life being like that. So
Right.
it's like you balance, you make your priorities, and like for me, it's like, I leave things a little earlier, or I've learned to ask for boundaries. Like sometimes I'm like,
That's important, I
hey,
think. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I can't make that Zoom meeting because I have my child's doctor appointment. And you know what happens? It's totally fine. They
Yeah.
have the meeting, they catch you up, and no one thinks that you're not committed. Like that was my big thing. Is like, I never not miss a meeting. I'm always the most committed person. And like I started, like it's okay. It's okay. Or like I've learned it's the pre-light. I'm normally there at the pre-light, like before everyone. But I was like, can I just come 3 hours later so that I can like take care of my child in the morning and then I'll be there
Mm,
and I trust my people to, it's like you learn to
right.
prioritize.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I got one last question, and it's if you could look back to when you were starting to where you are now, what is one thing that you wish you worried less about?
Hmm. I wish I worried less about figuring out the puzzle of how I was going to make it, like the
Mm,
trying to crack the code because there is no code to crack. And what I have experienced is that you don't know what's gonna lead you to what and who's gonna lead you where, and that the best way to do it is just make great stuff and be a great person and, like, a passionate person who treats others well, and, like, somehow that guides you where you need to go. Like, this whole thing of, like, if I just make that one project that looks like this, and then I can change my reel or I can connect with that producer, or then, like, or if I get an agent, then they can it's like the math, it falls apart, and I spent a lot of time stressing about that, and it never worked out the way I thought it would. So, there's a
beautiful.
lot of stress I think I didn't have to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be here. This was I took a lot away from this. Big time. Thank
That
you.
was so wonderful talking to you. Yeah, yeah, you too, really. You're very, thoughtful, the way that you're approaching all this. It's really beautiful to hear.
Thank you so much. And I believe your movie How to Make a Killing is coming out soon. Is that right?
Yeah, comes out in February. Yeah,
February. All right. Amazing.
yeah.
Well, where else can people find you, learn about you, see your work? Feel free to share.
I'm on yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram and my work's out there, and like you said, we have a movie coming out called, How to Make a Killing with Glenn Powell and, Margaret Qualley and Ed Harris. It's, Ed Harris with a shotgun eating a steak. It's like, my
Wow.
culmination of all my life
Yeah.
dreams. I was like, "Well, I could retire after this." Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, buddy.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, everyone. Peace out.